Good evening, strangers! We're going to have an amazing show tonight. It's going to be very interesting. Let me see if I can pull it up here a little bit. Can you hear the music? There we go. Folks, we're going to talk a little bit about the incredible stuff that's happening right now in New Jersey. And now I know we talked about that a little bit last week, but lots happened since then. In fact, there was like 3 different shows I wanted to do tonight. We might still do that throughout the week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we're going to talk about a lot of stuff this week, and it's not just going to be New Jersey drones, although this one's going to prove to be pretty amazing. So you're going to stick around, you're going to find out exactly what's going on there tonight, and it's going to rock your socks. Stay tuned, hang in there.
I don't care if you think I'm Satan reincarnated.
Demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of 5 distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet.
It is now 90 seconds to midnight.
I still think these are what people call angels. I'm dying to know what they've got to say.
Pretty severe suffering brings them.
These entities have the ability to appear in any form.
Good evening, strangers! Welcome to another Strange Normal, where we talk about the stranger things that happen in your normal life to give you a biblical understanding of what is going on. And there's a lot going on. Man, I have been all over the place today. Usually I have a little more time. I do my research on throughout the week, but primarily put it together Saturday night and today in the morning so I can have time to work on other projects. Not the case today. This has been a major research assignment, and it's been quite a struggle to try to pull all the facts together, because I try to get the exact thing that's happening and supposed to happen. We don't have a co-host tonight. It is almost the holidays, and a lot of people are off doing other things, and so you got me. But that means the show is going to go really fast, and we're going to be packing it with a lot of facts and a lot of punch, because we don't have a lot of gib-gab go to do tonight. Here we go. So let's get right into it. Hopefully I put all my B-roll together beforehand, and I did. Pull up show notes here. Folks, this is wild. So you came in just the right time to hear what in the world is going on in New Jersey. First of all, I want to ask if anybody is in New Jersey, because if you are, I want you to comment in the comments, because you know what? I might fly up there just to see what's going on myself. I'm kind of curious what's happening up there, and it's really bizarre. And then again, if you watch the end of the show, you might realize you don't want to go to New Jersey right now. You got to stick around. Watch this. This is the beginning. What really got my attention is when I started realizing this wasn't just a regular drone thing that was happening. This is something much bigger. I'm going to play this clip for you from News Nation. Watch this.
Off the top, I've been skeptical of this story. As a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist here, I thought it was going to be some sort of yahoos, and we would get a laugh out of this in several weeks. What happened yesterday completely changed my entire view on this story. Earlier in the afternoon, I was out with the Ocean City Sheriff's Department. They have a drone unit. They've investigated these things. What they've saw a bunch over the weekend. We did not see any with them last night. I was coming back home. I got a tip. Monmouth County, they're spotting them in Monmouth County. That's where I live. So I raced up here and I tried to figure out where the picture was that somebody sent me. And sure enough, I saw one. So I trailed it to a neighborhood, a dead-end street, and I got out of my car and I took my phone out with, my iPhone, and I couldn't really capture it, but I was staring literally at this drone 200 feet above me, maybe. I called our photographer, Nick, and I said, get up here as soon as you possibly can, meet me at this location, etc. I tracked a few more to the location where we are right now, over a body of water behind us. And I gotta say, Brian, over the next 2 hours, we saw dozens and dozens of these things, and they look like nothing you've ever seen before.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there just for a second because we're not done yet. I wish I could see myself or you guys could see me on here, but this is a guy who thought this was a nothing burger. There was nothing going on with this thing, but he thought, I'll take this assignment. I'll go up here, find out there's nothing, and we're going to laugh about it. Ha, 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 and we'll be done with it. And then he's like, wait a second. These things are hovering 200 feet above me. 200 feet is not very high. I go up 100 feet just going down my road in my driveway, and it's a steep hill. But I think it's really interesting that he's seeing these things 200 feet above the ground. That's going to be significant. So remember that as we go through the show tonight. Why 200 feet? That's important. Let's continue.
I'm not even sure I'm right in calling them a drone. They looked like they were fixed wing aircraft. They had multiple, blinking lights. They did not look anything like a plane, because there's plenty of planes flying overhead. Like tonight, they're not here. We're seeing just planes. Last night was totally different. They look creepy, and they move at a different pace. We tried to even follow a couple. They went off in the distance and disappeared. It's completely rewired my brain on this topic, and I'm a believer, and we need answers, and we don't have answers, and we need someone to step up and say, here is what's going on. Because otherwise, we're heading down this path in New Jersey and these states where people are just going to take this into their own hands.
Wow. Okay, so Dr. Ramsland is in Pennsylvania, Rich is in New Jersey. Scott, you are in Tennessee.
So this really surprised me. So they just said, I skipped a bunch. So I skipped the lady talking in the bottom left because she was going to duplicate a little bit of what was already said. But we just had New Jersey talk, the guy in the blue at the top, and now we're going to have Tennessee talk, which is at the bottom. Listen to the difference in how things are described in this. This blew me away. Watch this.
So you're in a different area where we haven't heard as much about this. Tell us about your sighting.
Yeah, mine's different than your all's. Mine's a lot different. Mine don't look like what you're showing there at all. These things are round. The ones that I saw were round. And they've got this ring around them. And around the ring, it's got little lights on it, and the light is spinning. And on the video that I sent you guys, you can see that at first before I zoom in on it. Because when I zoom in, it gets all blurry, and it looks like it's changing shapes, but it really isn't. But if you look really closely, you'll see how there's a thing spinning around it. And so I don't know mine didn't look like a plane at all. And I saw like 30 of them all together.
30?
Yeah, that thing right there was the first one. I believe that was the first one. And when it scooches in, you can sort of see that? You can sort of see there's something spinning around it.
Yep.
But it's hooked to it. It's like a ring.
It's so hard at night to video these things. I mean, that's the thing. It's like no matter, it looks so distinctive in person. And then you look at the video, even with our new iPhones, it's just, you can't really capture it. But are you sure it wasn't a plane, Scott? Because sometimes it's hard to tell.
Positive. I think all three of your guests tonight, we're all professional observers. And that's one of the things that we check out. What does it sound like? What does it look like? What is it doing? What does it sound like? And that had no sound at all. And at one point there were five when I after I saw this one, and there were three up in the by themselves, and there were two ahead of it that came past those. And then as they went on, the other three started following that one. Then they split up, and then I got video of where there's one there in different sections of the front yard and the backyard. You could see them through the trees. these were completely different than what you guys were seeing. These are completely different.
So
So what's he seeing here? This is really interesting because one guy is seeing drones. I believe, according to the last episode, what we went over, I'm going to cover a little bit of that again so we can kind of completely understand what this is. Revealing the facts here, these are military drones. The first guy seeing military drones in New Jersey. Why? Well, we're going to cover that in a second, and that's going to be why it's so dangerous. Number two, this guy in Tennessee, where I am, is actually seeing UAP. He says they're silent. These orbs, they have something rotating, which I have never seen before, but that's interesting to me because I'm sure that this whole deception can make it seem as if there is something like a wheel within a wheel, and that must mean they're watching us, and all this fancy stuff that we know is a complete fabrication of your mind. So I think what's going on here is we're seeing two different things, and we have to delineate, we have to understand what we're seeing between these two. One can break physics. One has no sound at all. The other looks kind of like a drone, floats like a drone, stays about 200 feet above the ground, and sounds like a jetliner as it's going straight through. So I want to make sure we distinguish between those two, because at the beginning of the show, that's super important. I have way too many notes up here. Let's see what we got next. This next clip is going to really drive that home. Like we did in the last episode, let's go over those 5 observables real quick when we see a UAP versus seeing a drone from the military. This is that clip. Let's see if we can pull it up.
There's 5 unique observables that these things are displaying. One is instantaneous acceleration. The second one is hypersonic velocity. The third one is a bit of an oxymoron, but it's low observability. And then the fourth one is transmedium travel, the ability to operate in different environments. And then the last observable is this, if you will, this weird positive lift or anti-gravity, where you have these vehicles with no wings, no control surfaces, no engines, and yet somehow they're able to fly and frankly outperform some of the very best aircraft that we have in our inventory.
Yeah, straight ahead of us.
Wow. Okay, so these things are breaking physics. They're not able to catch them. They're going above what airplanes can go. Let's understand what those things are. Sudden and instantaneous acceleration. Boom, they take off. There's no ramping up. There's no acceleration. It's just instantly 180 miles an hour or whatever it is. Hypersonic velocities. They're going Mach 8 and above without hitting a sound barrier and hearing that clap in the sky like thunder. They have low observability, meaning they disappear and reappear for no reason at all, like they're going in and out of realms. I don't even like to use that word because I'm not sure a realm exists. I just know they can disappear like a veil, the Bible calls it, a veil that is lifted and put back over our eyes. And then there is transmedium travel. These things are going super fast and they go straight down to the water, and then they come back up as if they're going through walls. That's indicative of paranormal activity and positive lift. There's also other things too, like they are very quiet. They don't make noise when they hover over, possibly because what you're seeing is in the mind and not necessarily physical. Now, I could be wrong about that. We're still observing what's going on here, and we're comparing it with the Bible to see what the Bible says about this stuff, because there's a lot in the Bible that explains what's going to happen in the last days. In fact, let me talk a little bit about that, because we have, I've been asked by several churches to do a sermon on this, and they're all wary about it because you don't know what UFO guy is going to be talking about, but I get that. But so I submit my outline to them, and they say, oh, yeah, that's biblical. Wow, I didn't know that quote existed. Because we've been doing the research on there, because we have people like you that have joined Patreon and are part of our private community, and we research this 24/7. So I appreciate that. So one of the things that I learned is that we focus on the third angel's message on this channel. People have messaged me and go, well, you're supposed to be going against the angels. You're supposed to be talking about the three angels' message. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Let's talk about this for a second. Number one, recognize God is the eternal and the love of God. This is the first angel's message. Number two, I'm summarizing, obviously. Number two, there is a moral corruption in our midst. Vatican and papacy and all that stuff, don't really talk about that. That's been talked about a lot by the church, and I think that's important. But we're talking about something that's far and beyond this. This is the third. The beast, judgment, and endurance. This is the endurance. That what's so important about this message is that there is a deception coming, a huge deception coming, and we need to understand what is going on behind it so that we can, number one, help other people and not be duped by it. We are instructed not to be duped by this by studying what Satan has happening, but not so much that we get so caught up in it that we lose track of the straight and narrow. So, third angel's message, beast, judgment, endurance. What kind of endurance is that? Well, as a church, we really don't talk about that, the endurance part, because it's scary. And I think that we need to, just like we need to talk about sin. We don't need to just completely veil everyone's eyes with this enamoring God's going to love everyone and bring everyone to heaven, because that's not going to happen. There is a choice that we have. And I think that's the important thing that we have to understand. Matthew 24, he said, now he sat on the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him privately saying, tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? And Jesus answered and said to them, take heed that no one deceives you. He was very concerned about being deceived. And why was that? Well, because not only had he received the revelation of Jesus Christ, which he gave through an angel to John, and then gave to us, but he also knew from reading the Bible that this is his MO. Satan's MO is to deceive, and he did that through the snake. How did he do it? Well, he appeared as something that he wasn't and told a lie, a half-truth. That's exactly what's going to happen again. So at the beginning of time is going to be at the end of time. And the end of time, it's going to be something that appears as if they're not, and telling a half-truth until they gain the hope of humanity and the idolatry of humanity until the end. 1 Timothy 4:1 says, now the Holy Spirit tells us clearly that in the last time some of you will turn away from the faith. They will follow deceptive spirits and teachings from demons. We can go further and further into that. That's actually the beginning of my sermon that I'm going to be talking about, so I won't go too far. Which, by the way, is on January 11. It's going to be at the Harrison SDA Church in Harrison, Tennessee, which is just outside of Collegedale, just outside of Chattanooga. You guys are welcome, but there's only 100 seats, 100 in the whole sanctuary. So, and we do have potluck, so bring something. But let's get back to the point here. Actual UAP sightings by pilots are on the rise. And so we're not just seeing drones in New Jersey, we're seeing drones that are UAP, but they're not nuts and bolts and a bunch of metallic objects in the sky. Check this out. This came on the radar just yesterday or the day before last. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Watch this.
Yeah, straight ahead of us.
No, we're not seeing anything. I had another one report at like 30,000 feet in the Eugene area. We're not sure what it is.
Yeah, there's lots moving out there.
1596, yeah, they're looking into it.
We're seeing 3 or 4 targets. You know, they're all altitudes, up and down. It's pretty crazy. There was some at 30 probably. But, I mean, they're shooting way up. We'd say maybe up to the 50s, it looks like.
Is there traffic actually out about our 2 to 3 o'clock, about, 20, 30 miles?
No, is that the 4 different lights going up and down? I'm getting a few reports, but you're seeing it right in front of you now too as well?
It's 2 to 3 o'clock off, about 2 to 3 o'clock from our position. Looks about 20 miles going in circles.
Medevac 1 Lima Foxtrot, yeah, we're not seeing anything, getting lots of different reports out there, some at 30, some all the way up to 50,000, about 3 or 4 different lights. Does it look like they're around your altitude now?
No, there's one way up high and one about my altitude. moving in like a circle, like a corkscrew.
Okay, corkscrew. Obviously, they're allowed to be seen right now because they are planning something. And then there's this one.
Yes, sir. Yeah, 1596.
1596, bud.
Yeah, military activity out straight ahead of us.
I think
1596. No, we're not seeing anything. I had another one report at like 30,000 feet in the Eugene area. We're not sure what it is. 1596. Yeah, they're looking into it.
Where is that at for 661 Lima Fox?
661 Lima Foxtrot. Stand by. You know, to 1596. Does it still look like it's in the Eugene area?
Just straight west of Eugene. I mean, we're seeing 3 or 4 targets. You know, there's all altitudes up and down. It's pretty crazy.
You know, 1596. Does it look like it's about at your altitude at level 260?
There was some at 30 probably. I mean, they're shooting way up. We say maybe up to the 50. It looks like.
1596. Thanks. Medevac 1 Lima Fox. Did you copy?
Yeah, I heard it. We'll be looking. 661 Lima Fox.
It's Seattle Rise 2207. We're seeing the same kind of thing too. The kind of whole way in.
2207. Thanks.
so. Eventually, they go up and they say, pause it right there. They go up and they say, hey, the tower says, you know what? You're free to adjust your altitude based on what you think is best. There's no other craft in the area, and you can avoid the UFO, is what they said. And so they don't know what these things are, but they appeared red, they appeared different colors, they appeared like they're going around like a corkscrew. And they said, what is going on here? Something's happening here, and we know what's happening, because what's happening is these things are coming out of the woodwork, just like Roger Morneau said. Roger Morneau said, demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies, coming to Earth to explain of a pending disaster unless something proper is done to avoid it. That's what's happening right now, and they're beginning to come out, and we expect in the next 3 years, if not this year, to be an extreme amount of them coming out. Now, originally, when I saw these drones, I'm going to switch back to talking about drones from UAP for a second. These drones that they're seeing in New Jersey and other places, New York, and apparently even farther than that, I've had people tell me in the comments and call me and tell me that they are seeing them even in my state, the actual physical military drones. They said that these things are very, very interesting. They are, it could be that what they are doing, this is my original idea, which I believe is wrong now, they are military is preparing to go after these UAP, and they have something ready. In fact, that was Lou Elizondo's one of his initial theories as well, too. Take a look.
It's possible that you could have, for example, a UAP being seen over a sensitive U.S. facility or installation. And so what do? We launch our drones, because typically in the past we used to fly helicopters, but helicopters are expensive, and let's face it, you may have one or two if you're lucky, if it's available to you, and there's time it takes to get a pilot, wake them out of bed, have them go to the helicopter, start it up and fly it. By then, whatever it is you're chasing is long gone. So it makes sense that you have these quick response, quick reaction drones on or near military installations, that if there was an event, you could launch these immediately. In fact, almost autonomously, and they would all go to a pre-arranged location and start surveying the area to see if they can find what's in and around the area. So is it possible that some people are seeing UAP initially, and then the government's response is to launch these drones to try and find these things in a relatively quick and efficient manner? And so what people are seeing, in some cases, some are seeing the initial UAP, whereas others are now seeing the follow-on response, the U.S. response, and trying to identify these things.
All right, so that was the first theory that I thought, well, that's quite plausible, and that's probably what's happening here. I don't believe that anymore. I believe there's something much, much worse happening here than original, because we've gone through a couple different scenarios, and I put a couple things together by walking through some of this research and listening to what people have to say on this, and there's some things that aren't adding up. So the next clip I have here is that was Lou talking about how the drones could be trying to find the UAP. But let's go to Kristen and walk through this mystery as we continue and see what she has to say about this on a news clip. Watch this.
Joining me now to discuss this is New Jersey resident Kristen Cobo, who saw the drones firsthand. Kristen, thanks so much for coming on. So what exactly did you see and how did you capture them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not unique, and I'm certainly no professional cameraman, but on any given night, you go outside in Morris County and all around New Jersey, and you see these gigantic drones hovering over our homes. It's really concerning. It's been for about a month. And like I said, as soon as it gets dark, you can walk outside at any point and see them around 8 to 10 hovering. They're there for hours. And last night, one came pretty close above our house. It's very concerning.
What are they? Any idea what they look like to you?
They look like huge drones. It's really concerning and quite frustrating to hear the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, say that it's no unusual activity that they see and that it's a case of mistaken identity. Make no mistake, these are commercial drones, and they are being flown in unique patterns over our homes every night.
All right, what did she say there? And she's in New Jersey, so she says that we are seeing these drones and they're flying in unique patterns over our homes at night. Unique patterns? That's something I had never heard anybody say before, and it's not indicative of UAP, which kind of zigzag through the air to show that they are not applicable to physics. This is something much different. This is unique patterns, and I've heard another person say they are communicating in how they are flying in these very sophisticated patterns. What patterns? This is a key element to understanding this as we go through this mystery. Watch this.
What are those patterns? What exactly are they doing during that period? And by the way, there's been a lot of information, particularly on social media, about whether or not they're emitting a substance or they're emitting a light of any kind. What are their patterns? What are they doing?
Right. I have seen those accounts as well. I have not seen anything sprayed from them. I've seen lights shining from one to the other. They hover in one place and they kind of rotate. They look like they're mapping, to be honest. And it's concerning, being that we live very close to Picatinny Arsenal. And, our military is saying that they're seeing these patterns. So why aren't they telling us more? I mean, we've just lived through COVID. We're not stupid. We deserve transparency. And we are living through times where people question the government, and lack of transparency is making us more and more concerned.
Okay. Wow. Did you hear that? So she said that we are seeing these patterns. I'm going to go back and let's look at that exact thing she said. What'd she say?
In one place, and they kind of rotate. They look like they're mapping, to be honest.
Okay, they look like they're mapping, to be honest. So you got these things flying in patterns that are mapping every single night for the last several weeks, if not more than that. That's really fascinating. So why in the world is that happening right now? Well, let's look at some of these maps. Maybe we can kind of see what the maps look like if we look at FlightAware or things like that. Look at this. This is New Jersey. Now let's zoom into this a little bit, and we'll see that, look, you can see some of these patterns from these drones. Wow, what in the world? Now take a look. These patterns are zigzagging back and forth and back and forth. This is not your typical UAP type pattern. This is mapping, exactly what she said, going back and forth over the terrain as if it's searching for something. Is it searching for humans? Is it searching for material? What is it searching for? Because this is a search pattern, absolutely, and you can tell how close those lines are together, that it has to be very close and very precise on what it's doing. This is very, very crucial to understanding what this thing is actually doing here. So these patterns in these images that we are looking at right now have something to do. It can't be UAP, because maybe they decide to take Thanksgiving off. Like,
hey, Dana, so one witness says it's like a parade. The drones just keep coming one after another, and you can hear them coming because they're so loud. Listen to the power of this drone last night.
Okay, it's loud. That's one of them. Okay.
So residents in Morris County tell me this has been happening every single night with the exception of Thanksgiving over the past few weeks.
So they're, just like we said in the last episode, they're not coming on Thanksgiving. That tells me that this thing's human operated. So you got manned or unmanned drones that are mapping the area around the significantly populated areas very close to New York. I think also if you go down further near the Capitol, something's happening here near the ports. Why? Why is this happening right now? And why everyone's very concerned about this? One of the senators spoke up about this, and he just basically said it as it is, and he's getting very close to the truth on this. Watch this.
One politician in New Jersey is calling for a limited state of emergency as a result of this unprecedented drone activity. Republican State Senator John Bramnick, thank you so much for joining us, Senator. We appreciate your time this morning.
I've never seen anything go on this long. And why would the government allow the public to be so frustrated?
Right.
Why would the government allow a United States senator to be so frustrated? We heard this from both sides of the aisle. Now that brings me to the point that whatever these drones are doing, the government really doesn't want us to know. What that must mean is they're more concerned with us getting knowledge and being afraid of that information than having no knowledge and having all these questions. That's why I'm worried about it. It must be something going on that they can't tell us because they are so fearful of what the public's going to do when they hear what the drones are doing.
What? There must be something to do with something we are so fearful about if we find out what the drones are actually doing. Whoa, this guy's been around a while. Listen to what he says next.
There's no way the Department of Defense does not know what's going on. We have not heard. Have we heard one word from the Department of Defense? Zero.
Unbelievable. And you are calling for a limited state of emergency and a ban on flying drones like you and I just talked about a moment ago. The FAA has already imposed no-fly zones. The drones are still in the air. Nothing is being done.
Why do we need, let me ask you a question. Is there some reason we need drones that badly right now in the air when people are panicking? Shut them down. FAA should shut them down. Who are they helping? All they're doing is creating panic.
Oh, he doesn't know what's going on, but he's very close. I think what's fascinating about this is I have watched TikTok videos of, and I wish I took them from the Discord, of people shooting at these things. You can actually see the bullets flying at the plane as they're shooting these things because they're terrified of them and they want them gone. They wish that these drones would just get out of the air. They're only 200 feet in the air. 200 feet in the air? Why in the world? I mean, no planes operate 200 feet in the air. There's actually a barrier that the planes have to be under. I forget what the plane limits is, but the plane has to be at a certain altitude, and anything that's a drone has to be under 400 feet. Why do I know that? Well, in fact, I am a drone operator, a licensed drone operator, and I have my license to do this. And so I have to know how far you can be from certain towers, how far you can be from different mountain ranges, and 400 feet from the level of the land is where you have to stay under, and these things are staying 200 feet. Well, if you wanted to be a little more discreet, why wouldn't you go another 200 feet? There's something to that. We're going to talk about that in a second. So as I perused through some of these news articles, we're going to get to Lou Elizondo, his second idea on this, because I think it's more aligned with what is actually going on. But there's a news anchor that kind of got a drift of what is happening through someone he interviewed. This is what he said.
Bringing in FAA drone pilot and founder of Gargoyle Systems, Mike Fraietta. Mike, I appreciate you making the time, and I'm so curious, what are your initial thoughts on these sightings, and do you think they're military or commercial grade, and why?
Well, initially, I think it's really important to ask the question, is this a friend or foe drone? In this case, my gut says these are friendly drones. We've seen NOTAMs, which are short for Notice to Air missions, that were gotten out on November 25th. December 4th, when these sightings started. These are listed publicly as confidential flights coming from around McGuire Air Force Base, which is located in central New Jersey. Now, if you think about drone usage, right, there's a lot of positive uses we've seen in agriculture for scanning and for going over. And now you think about, well, maybe we need to check our own shores for potential bomb threats or potential nuclear situations.
What? Okay, so he says you're seeing TAMs. I forget what that's an acronym for, but it's a message that goes out to the airline maps and says, by the way, we're going to have these things come through. This is an important event that's going to happen, and everyone that's flying in this area needs to know about this. And so these information messages go out and have told everybody that this is happening. This is a drone. It's happening. It's below 400 feet. It's all legal. It's all legit, but make sure that you know that this is happening. And maybe they're searching for something. What are they searching for? Lou Elizondo has an idea of what they're searching for, and if you have any ideas before I play this clip, maybe you should put them in the chat or add a comment below, because I'm very curious. And make sure you hit that like button. We're going to go over what actually is happening here, what the Bible says about this whole thing, and much more. But right now, the mystery continues. Watch this.
So first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about the drone issue. This is a big deal. It's on every major media outlet right now, and I think for good reason. No one seems to know what's going on. I do think that some people do know what's going on. I also want to make it clear, first of all, many of you know I still hold my security clearance, and I'm not going to violate any terms of my security oath. And so because of that, I'm going to address some things in hypotheticals.
Okay, so did you hear what he said there? A lot of these guys, when they are from the military, they say, hey, we know something. But because of my security clearance, I'm going to address these things that might be fact and might not be. I'm going to give you a slew of ideas that might happen. One of them might be true, but I'm not going to say if it's true or not, because I still have a security clearance and I don't want to invalidate that. So I'm going to give you my opinion, and I don't know. So what does he not know?
I just want to say for the record, I do not know if this is fact or not, what I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
But it's something to think about. These are alternative ways of looking at this drone issue. Also, let's look at this on the backdrop of where we are right now with Russia and China, right? Things are heating up a lot with Russia, unfortunately. And there's been a lot of back and forth. And for those of you who know, who lived through the Cold War, Russia has always been an incredible chess master. If you look at the Cold War as being a chess match between two superpowers, Russia is very, very good. They think very asymmetrically. And so we need to consider that right now. Politics aside, whether you're for or against or anything like that, let's just look at the reality here. The U.S. and Russia right now are not on very friendly terms, and both of us have weapons of mass destruction, particularly nuclear equities. So let's talk about this topic. What do we know? What we do know is that these things are being seen over New Jersey, but they've also seen over the future president's Mar-a-Lago location as well. We've seen them over recently Langley Air Force Base down by the Chesapeake. And let's not forget that several years ago, roughly 5 years ago, we had the same issue in Colorado. And people in Colorado and Nebraska, to include law enforcement and sheriffs, were chasing these drones that seemed to be doing a grid pattern. Let's look at the reaction. If we're talking about an SUV-sized drone, okay, these are not hobby drones. Something like that would be enormously expensive. Some of these drones are being seen for, in some cases, hours at a time. So we're dealing with a drone, if it's a drone, with something that has one heck of a capability that hobbyists probably would never be able to afford. So we're probably talking a state-sponsored capability. Only a big nation that has the ability to put the R&D, research and development money into developing a large type, if you will, SUV-sized drone would have the means to do something like that and then deploy it, right? It's not just building it and flying it, but taking it to the location that you want it to be to do its job and be able to do it anonymously. Then you have another issue here. So you have the loiter problem, where these things are flying for hours, not minutes. You have the size problem. These are huge in some cases. An SUV is a very large, you're talking a very substantial size drone. This is not a quadcopter. This is something different, something bigger, something that potentially a human being could fit into. Probably there's a potential that these are not foreign adversarial drones. If they are drones and they are big and they're large and they're sophisticated, then they're probably our drones. Now, when I say our drones, someone in the U.S. government, DoD has already come out and said, no, they're not ours. That may be true. There's other agencies out there, right? There's DHS and there's other organizations out there like Department of Energy, believe it or not, who are responsible for protecting some of our nuclear facilities, and they have drones. So one scenario could be, and again, let me just emphasize here, I don't want anybody to freak out, but one scenario here could be that these are our drones being lent by one of our organizations, maybe an intelligence organization, to another domestic organization that's very concerned about our security. Perhaps there is a scenario where there's an adversarial nation, maybe we got a report or suspicion that some adversarial nation has a weapons of mass destruction somewhere here in the continental United States, and so we are deploying these vehicles in an attempt to sniff them out, if you will, try to locate these things if it's true. Again, I have no information to indicate that there is indeed some sort of broken arrow situation or where we have some sort of weapons of mass destruction here in the continental United States, but it would explain a lot of the responses we're seeing, right? Where local law enforcement isn't being informed of what's going on, state law enforcement and officials aren't being informed, and yet someone in a federal agency is spending money and time and resources to do this. Now, what scenario would predicate such an act? Well, if there was something so scary, so dangerous, that maybe they don't want to scare the people. Maybe they want to try to do this in a way that doesn't cause mass panic, right, or something to that degree. Again, let me just emphasize, I don't know this to be true. It's just a hypothesis, if you will, of if this was our drones, why would we be keeping it secret from local and state law enforcement and other officials and even Congress? Maybe because we have some sort of threat information and we're trying to find something.
Could that be the answer? Well, there's not. I have more clips to talk about this. This is not the de facto truth here. Let's really dig into this. But before I do, what comes to mind? Actually, a friend of mine sent me a message earlier today, and he said what comes to mind was Psalms 91. He said if something happens here, we are instructed to memorize this chapter. It's a very important chapter. I'd memorize this one and another one. What was it, 93? But it says this. Let's go to verse 7. Let's start at verse 1. He says, he that dwelleth, you know what? I'll just let you see my screen. Why not? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, and the pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be my shield and my buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor the pestilence that walketh in the darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. Wow. Number 7 is my favorite. Well, it's not my favorite, but it's something that I think that we should remember. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, 10,000 people at thy right, but it shall not come nigh thee, not come to you. Only with thine eyes shall thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. On and on. I love this chapter, and I think it's super important to remember that if 1,000 shall fall at your right side and left side, even 10,000 people. Is this a prophecy? is something happening here? Will something happen in the future that will destroy a lot of people? I think so. And I want to make sure that we, as Bible-believing Christians, we that believe that we are going to heaven someday soon, the saints, what is talked about in Revelation, the ones who keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus Christ, Revelation 14:12, are the ones that are claiming these promises found in the Bible here and knowing that things are going to happen like this, things that have never been seen before. So what else is going on here? Is this the only is Lou Elizondo the only hat I have to hang this theory on? No, actually. Very interesting that John, a CEO who builds these UAVs, these unmanned aerial vehicles, not UAP, UAV is in Victor or vehicle. This guy really surprised me. Watch what he says here.
Hey everyone, my name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody, so, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway, back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay? We don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high-level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case. So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay? That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. Okay? Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas, and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that came up missing here in the United States, and they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night.
Listen to this.
Unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay? Because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, you mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature. Because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient, before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe. Now it's gone. So my own guess, is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying and flying that low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground.
Let's pause it right there for a second. He's got about 2 minutes left where he talks about it, and I let him wax long about gas, but on methane gas and stuff. But I think it's interesting to point out what he just said. They need to smell something. They need to look for something on the ground. And why are they doing it at night? That's been the big contention in the forums and everything. What if this is what they're doing, why are they doing it at night? Well, the reason is because during the day, that giant nuclear weapon in the sky called the sun is actually messing with their ability to sense this stuff on the ground. And so if you have a ton of rays that are hitting the ground from all different types of wavelengths, and you're looking for one specific signature, you want to do this an hour after sunset, which is exactly when they start. So that's interesting. That's another key element that's happening here. But why 200 feet off the ground? Well, I went to ChatGPT, and I started doing some research, because now ChatGPT is connected to the internet, and it shows you its sources, so it's much more legitimate if I can verify some things. And one of the things it said was that some of these drones, like he said, and what gives him legitimacy is that he's the CEO of the builder of some of these major military drones. And he said that some of these have advanced radiation mapping systems built in. And this is what it says about those things. Some high-end drones are equipped with large area, a crystal. I can't spell that word or say that word because I don't know what it says. Skillianshin, or advanced spectrometric systems that increase detection range. The range can be from anywhere from 50 to 100 meters in optimal conditions. What is 100 meters? Well, that's 300 feet, right? So what are they doing? They're at 200 feet trying to find something at night. I think the message is clear here. The mystery is solved. They're trying to detect something that has a signature of nuclear weapons near New York and the Capitol because some tip, this is my opinion, someone's tipped them off and said that it's legitimate enough that they need to go searching for this stuff. That's bizarre and scary. And to the credit of, I'm going to go ahead and say it, I think UAP are actually more scary than nuclear weapons, but you know, the thumbnail had to say something. So I think it's interesting. The range can be from 50 to 100 meters in optimal conditions, depending on the radiation intensity and environmental shielding, buildings and vegetation. Very, very interesting. Let's hear the rest of what he has to say about this topic. Here we go.
That's it. There's no other reason for a drone to be flying in the air other than to piss a bunch of people off at night. That's it. So, my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground. Gas leaks, radioactive material, whatever. So, and do I think that they're coming up out of the ocean? No, I don't think so. Drones that are multi-copter type drones, not the fixed wing aircraft that look like regular airplanes, but the multi-copters, they only have so much battery life. They have hybrid versions that are gas powered with electric, but those can still only fly for a short period of time.
Okay. Anyway. This is what this guy says. I want to give him a little bit of legitimacy. Go ahead and hit that like button if you appreciate the research done on this, because we have 10 more people and we can get into the 400 concurrent. That's a record for this channel. That's fantastic. Appreciate you guys hanging around. But that would be really neat if we got 400 concurrent viewers right now. So this is interesting. Let's hear some legitimacy. Why is this guy actually an authority in this topic? Well, let me show you.
The other thing is that there on the previous video, I had some people kind of doubting my credibility. And I'm going to show you some of this stuff, not that I really need to, but I'm doing it just because I want to, just establish my credibility right out of the bat here, okay? Right out of the cage. So, again, I've been fortunate enough, to be politically active. I'm running for office in 26, and I've been able to meet with presidents, generals, kings, queens, governors, and ministers, around the world. And so this is in Sudan. I'll show you this. So that's Malik Agar, and of course that's me right there. So, and then this is just recently, this is the president of Burundi, and that's myself. So again, for those that have, cast any doubt on my credibility and what I do, I'm a factual type of a person, and I'm the guy that will say what others will not say. Sometimes it's to my detriment, but whatever. At least you all know the truth. And so when I run for office in 26 and I do win, I want to do something that that's not really done in office today and have not been done in several decades, and that's just keep everybody informed of what the hell's going on.
So he has some backing on what he's saying. What's interesting about this clip and these 3 clips, actually this was 3 clips. I didn't include the second one, just too long, and it wasn't important for this stream. But what's interesting is his account's gone. The account's gone. Like after he put this out there and he's like, "Hey, this is my opinion. I've talked to a lot of governments, and I'm just going to give my opinion now here about this." He deleted his TikTok account. I mean, I can't even find it. I don't know if it's suspended or what, but that's interesting. So I went out on the web. I went to some Facebook groups, and I started researching this a little bit more. I put some messages out publicly, and I said, "Hey, if anybody has any other legitimacy about what I theorize here, can you put that forth and leave me a comment?" And I got probably 30 or 40 in the first 10 minutes of people saying, "Hey, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. This is something, this is something, this is something." And then my post was deleted. I didn't delete it. Something's going on here, and I'm not going to say it's conspiracy or anything, but I think it's really interesting that everything that's happening right now is wild. And so we're going to continue to follow this UAP thing that's happening. We're going to continue to follow this drone thing that's happening. We're going to continue to follow World War III as it continues to evolve here in human form, because things are happening, and they're happening fast. And everyone has to know that listen, this is interesting. The time of trouble, such as there never was, is soon to break upon us, and we shall need an experience which we do not yet possess, we do not now possess, and which many are too indolent to obtain. It is often the case that trouble is greater in anticipation than reality, but this is not true of the crisis before us. The most vivid presentation cannot reach the magnitude of the ordeal. In that time of trial, every soul must stand for himself before God. Though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in this land, as I live, saith the Lord, they shall deliver neither son nor daughter. They shall stand but to deliver their own souls by their righteousness. See, what's fascinating, that was quoting Ezekiel 14:20. And that was out of, I want to say Great Controversy, but I can't find the quote right now. Lots is coming down the pipe, and it's coming down the pipe fast. And I think it's really interesting that it's all happening around this 2025, 2026, 2027. It's time, folks. This is my appeal to you. It's time to do your worships in the morning. It's time to have that Daniel prayer 3 times a day. It's time to put away any addiction that you have, any problem that you can't take to heaven, and right the wrongs of the people that you are disgusted with, or that are disgusted with you. Now is the time, because we don't have but days left. I'm convinced. So if that's you and this is appealing to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're doing your studies. Make sure you're listening close to what's happening. And if you can't figure it out, it's time to fast, pray, and get others involved to fast pray with you, so that we can all meet on that shore some days very soon. Okay, well, that was heavy. This was a heavy one today, but I think it's important that we talk about this, because we don't often talk about the third angel's message, the beast, the judgment, and endurance. That is so important, but we do on this channel, and that's the goal. There's going to be 2 major things that happen in the time. It's going to be deception about worship, deception about the state of death. And so those are the things that I'm attacking, and I have received a lot of spiritual attack just because I know what's coming down the pipe, and I'm revealing it to everyone who doesn't know about what's going on. So if you want to help out with this podcast, join us, patreon.com/strangenormal, or go to strangenormal.org, and you can also reach every single way to contact us, to help donate there as well. And we have explanations about what we're doing and stuff like that. There's stuff coming down the pipe. Don't go anywhere. I got other things to say. But what we got coming down is we got the GC session coming up. Big thing. And so what we want to do is we want to create a t-shirt that people will wear as they go around there, because I don't have a booth. You had to get a booth a year in advance, and it costs $4,000 just to get a hotel there for the week. So I'm doing my best to stay with friends, and we're going to make some t-shirts to advertise and talk about the major things that are happening in this world. And if that's you, if you want to help out with the creation of this t-shirt, maybe you want to push out 1,000 t-shirts and say I'll support this, let me know, because I'm working with a designer right now, and she's creating some pretty good content that'll really catch some eyes, and is not the typical stuff that is just going to be like, oh, that's another Adventist t-shirt, oh, that's another Christian idea. No, we're going to talk about this alien stuff, and it's going to be blatant, and it's going to be exciting. So more to come on that. Make sure you are watching every single episode, because we're going to talk a lot about it. But not to belabor this point at all, let me go to the chat, look and see how you guys are doing. We reached 380 today. That's okay. That's pretty good. 383 was our top concurrent. And it looks like you guys are doing good. Let your light shine, R. Pink says. Preach it, brother. And let's see. This little light of mine, Mr. Allen C. says. State of the Dead. State of the Dead, what happens at death? Yeah, thank you for correcting my Evan T's. Let's see here. Just reading. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for your continued support as we go down through this time. It's not, you don't have much time left. And I know many people have said that throughout the years, but I see what's happening right now, and I think we can deduce the seasons that we are in, and I don't think a lot of people realize it, and it makes me sad because now is the time. Dilithium crystals all the way. Hey, you've been researching this too. Dilithium crystals. Where did I see that? Because that's something I read about this too. Region 7. Wow. Okay, very good. It's something to do with that. But anyway, that's it. Folks, that's the show. We're about to be done, but don't listen. We're going to have probably a midweek show. I want to talk a little bit about Luigi. It's a big thing in the news right now, and I think there's something that the news isn't picking up on. I've been collecting clips, and I just don't have enough. I almost did the show on that tonight, but I think it's fascinating, some of the things that are being brought out, but there isn't enough research in it yet, and I can't find the clips that I want, but I have a theory, and I'm going to bring that out. So Luigi, the CEO killer that the whole world is enamored with. They just love the fact that he got the CEO of this big health insurance company. There's a quote that says at the end of time, there will be a big hate for very wealthy people because they buy and sell, and there will be civil war because of it. And I believe we're seeing the beginning of that. Now I'm revealing too much. We're not going to watch this episode if I tell you the whole thing. But thank you, Michelle Brown, for the super chat. Jesus is coming soon. I appreciate you. Thank you. And I believe so too. So spread the word. People are leaving. Closing the door. Take care. And I want to just say, my name is Bradley. This has been pure strangeness and absolute normalcy. Strange normal. God bless you.
You're watching Strange Normal with the